Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I'm gonna share with you kind of like a work in progress. Currently, I'm started to get interested to use Blender game engine again, and I'm kind of getting more comfortable with the game engine because I know a little bit of Python now, kind of better. So and I can kind of treat the Blender game engine as like a kind of like a full like a script node kind of. If you've been following my live noding, I use Sverchok and Animation Nodes, and they have one node that's kind of using Python code, and they call it a script node. And when you're working with Blender game engine, you are very likely to be using um, the Python scripting at some point. And the nice thing about Blender game engine is that it is actually a lot faster if you want to do like a real-time kind of setup, just like what I've been trying to do using Sverchok and Animation Nodes. Using Blender game engine, you have like actually more kind of real-time kind of setup with less latency. So if you might have seen me doing like Sonic Pi experiment, like generating sound using Sverchok and animation node. Sometimes you see there's some kind of lag, and sometimes the system just can't keep up. But apparently with game engine, it's very different. It's a lot faster, and I can kind of work very easily. So here I'll just show you the demo real quick first. So I hit P, and I'm actually having the Blender game engine playing, and then while at the same time I have this Sonic Pi running. And what's gonna happen is Blender game engine gonna talk to Sonic Pi and generate sound. For example, if I hit Spacebar, you can see like there's like a drum sound. There's like a very slight microseconds kind of latency, but I think that's no problem. And because this is a lot more interactive than if I were to use Sverchok or animation nodes. I know that it can be faster as well using Sverchok or animation nodes, but for now, maybe for what I'm trying to do, I can use Blender game engine to test things out. I can also use this ASDF. I assign like ASDF button, and with this for melody, I can actually make like some kind of music. Yeah, it's I think it's a I think it's music titled Sakura or something. But anyway, you can see like the whole thing is pretty interactive. I can actually do it really fast, and it's now Sonic Pi is trying to catch up. Maybe I'm doing it too fast, so the thread goes too far behind. If I were doing this without using the recording, this guy will actually doing it pretty fast. It will catch up. So the current limitation is that we are relying on Sonic Pi to generate sound, but the good thing is that this is actually rather simple, very simple to set up. At some point in another live noding, I'll show you how to create the whole thing from scratch. But if I give you like a quick breakdown, this is basically super simple. So I have this setup with the sensors, controllers, and actuators inside Blender Game Engine. So they're kind of like a trigger, like a sensor or triggers. So this guy, I set it up so it's sensing the keyboard spacebar and then the keyboard ASDF button. So if I play back again, so yeah, it's already Sonic Pi is now catching up, and now we can do the sound again. Oh, now it's too far behind again. But anyway, um, I set it up so if I press the button, the monkey will change color. and also the spacebar is supposed to trigger like a sample of sound, like a bass kind of sound. And the Python scripting for each button trigger is actually very simple. For the spacebar, for example, it's only like a few lines, and then I have this one functions that change the color of the monkey. This one is to print this text when I hit the space bar, and to play the sample. And this one is asking Sonic Pi to play the drum bass hard sample at a like a random rate, and change the color of the monkey as well. While for the other button, it's basically changing the color and also to play a sound. If I change this to piano kind of sound, it's gonna sound very different. It's very easy actually, and but you can set up something very cool very easily. So I'll save this and then run the Blender game engine. Maybe I hit the button too fast, or I don't know, when I'm recording I can't hit the button too fast, I guess. I'll stop this, and then so like I said, we are relying on Sonic Pi, but Sonic Pi itself in the background is actually running what do you call it, the super collider. So Sonic Pi itself is relying on super collider. If you are programming the music using Sonic Pi, you are using language called Ruby, but in Blender we are using language called Python, and I'm using a module as well. So so it's a we rely on so many programs, but everything kind of work together, which is nice. Originally, I was actually using just Python outside of Blender, just Python 3, and then this is an app called Pineapple. This is basically just like just a prettier version of Jupyter IPython notebook. Basically, just like a text editor that's but you can kind of interactively running Python program inside it. So I can do the same thing here. Like I'll load all this the synth sound, and then I can kind of play any sound like that. Still, it's kind of a little bit slow if I'm running it while recording. Supposedly that's making sound, but it's yeah too slow. But anyhow, we can do that using Blender game engine, and it's really interactive. If you're just changing color, you see how fast it is. It's just my computer processor is not fast enough to handle this command. Unfortunately, if I there is another setup that I actually made using Sverchok that's actually kind of interesting. I'll try to open it. This guy is actually just slightly more elaborate, where I'm using this VSE, the Blender Video Sequence Editor here, and I'm using this block, and basically Blender using Sverchok add-on will read the position of all this block and then try to play musics and send the comments into Sonic Pi. I think currently Sonic Pi is probably kind of hanging. Supposedly if I change the time, this guy will generate sound and then play it back. You can see it on my other video demo, but yeah, this is slightly more elaborate. I'm still working on it. It's not guarantee that this will run in a like a real time, but this can be really interesting because I tried it just a little bit, just changing the block and then changing the melody just by using the video sequence editor, and I can quickly like test the sounds being generated, and then if I like, I can just use like like a noise functions or sine functions, and kind of to randomize and shuffle this melody as well. It's very interesting. Like even though like I'm not like a sound artist or musicians, but um, I'm interested with this kind of thing, and I try to incorporate Blender and just a little bit of programming. Um, I think Sonic Pi is actually running now. If I try to change the time, no, I think still a little bit too slow. It cannot catch up with the with the command that's I'm sending from this program. Um, yeah, well, anyway, that's just a quick like a demo of showing you what I've been doing. It's very interesting, even though it's still pretty basic. But even like with Blender game engine here, with a simple setup, you can actually, if you without the Python knowledge, I can't possibly do something like this. Like this is just randomly change color if I hit spacebar, and then change the color into whatever I assign to ASDF. So this is if I don't understand any of the this basics Python code, I won't be able to do that. But yeah, but there's a lot of potential. This is probably like maybe it's setting myself up, so maybe if I use other program like a game engine such as Unity or Unreal Engine, if they are using kind of like a nodes or a little bit of Python scripting, maybe I can use it. But like game programming is another different area compared to animation nodes or Sverchok. um, what what we are doing here is still pretty basic. You're basically but I still like the idea of being able to interactively sending commands or generating values, and then do all kind of these experimentations, even though they are still basics, but still you can kind of easily grasp the idea, and then it's become like it's part of your own skill. Like I don't know how to explain it. The complex part, like if you are doing game programming and then using the logic, and then that part is actually a whole different area in itself. But um, if you understand like the basics, it will take you quite far. You don't need to go like to advanced level like algorithm. Maybe if you're interested in that area, you just keep working on it. Eventually you understand that area. You can make your own algorithm, etc. But what I mean is, if you can use Blender and a little bit of Python and kind of try to understand a little bit of basic of programming, that can help you to go quite far. Yeah, so anyway, I guess that's pretty much it for this live noding. Thanks